The emergency sirens tore through every corridor of the colony ship like a scream. 15,000 people had been sleeping, eating, living their lives in the metal hull that carried them across the stars. Now they ran. Parents grabbed children. Old people stumbled from their quarters. Everyone knew what the sirens meant, even if they had never heard them before. Outside the ship, 36 vessels surrounded them like sharks. Their hulls were painted red and black, pirates, raiders, the kind of people who took what they wanted and left nothing behind but empty ships drifting in the dark. Rodriguez pressed her hand against the communications panel. Her fingers shook, but her voice stayed steady. She had been a ship captain for 12 years. She had guided the New Horizon through asteroid fields and solar storms. She had kept these people safe for 8 months of travel. She would not let them die here. This is the colony ship New Horizon to any vessel in range. We are under attack. Coordinates transmitted with this message. We have 15,000 civilians aboard, requesting immediate assistance. Repeat, requesting immediate assistance. She sent the message on every frequency the ship had. Military channels. Civilian channels. The open galactic network that every species used for emergencies. Someone would hear them. Someone had to hear them. Across the ship, Davis ran through the corridors with his security team. They were not soldiers. They were guards meant to break up fights and handle drunk colonists. They carried stun weapons and body armor designed for riots, not war. Now they faced boarding parties with military-grade weapons and years of experience killing people. Seal the docking ports, Davis shouted into his radio. Get everyone into the safe zones. Engineering, medical, families with children. Lock them in and don't open those doors for anyone but me. His team scattered. They were scared. He could see it in their eyes, but they moved anyway, because that was what you did when people needed you. The first boarding pod hit the hull with a sound like thunder, then another, then 5 more. The raiders were coming in fast, trying to overwhelm them with numbers. Davis positioned his people at the choke points, the narrow corridors where the invaders would have to come through. It was basic tactics. Make them fight on your terms. 2,000 light years away, a room full of aliens watched Rodriguez's message play on their screens. They sat in comfortable chairs. They drank beverages from a dozen different worlds. They represented 50 different species, all part of the Galactic Council. They were important. They made decisions that affected billions of lives. They laughed. Ambassador Trell leaned back in his chair. His scales caught the light, shimmering green and gold. He had been a diplomat for 30 years. He had seen 1,000 emergencies. This one seemed no different than any other. Humans, he said, and his voice dripped with amusement. They venture into the outer reaches with barely any weapons and then cry for help when the obvious happens. Another council member, a being made mostly of crystal and light, flickered in agreement. They are a new species. They do not understand how the galaxy works. Perhaps this will teach them. A third voice, this one from a creature that looked like a cross between an insect and a plant, added its opinion. Earth is an unremarkable world. Moderate gravity, moderate temperature. They have no natural advantages. They are soft things that got lucky with their evolution. Why should we waste resources protecting them? The vote was quick. 37 council members voted against intervention. Only 13 voted to send help. The message was clear. Humanity was on its own. On the New Horizon, the fighting had reached the main corridors. Davis fired his stun weapon at a raider, watched the alien drop, then had to dive behind cover as return fire tore through the air where his head had been. Real weapons, plasma and projectiles, things that killed. One of his team members went down screaming. Medical Officer Lee dragged the wounded woman to safety, her hands already working to stop the bleeding. She had been a doctor for civilian emergencies. Broken bones, heart attacks, difficult births, not this, never this. But she worked anyway. Rodriguez watched the security feeds from the bridge. She saw her people fighting, saw them dying, saw them holding the line anyway, and still no response to her distress call. Nothing but silence from the galaxy. The ship's artificial intelligence, Iris, spoke in her ear. The voice was calm, measured, designed to be soothing. Captain, I have detected no response on standard channels. However, I have access to military-grade communication arrays that were installed during construction. Should I attempt to reach human military networks? Do it, Rodriguez said. Send everything. Location, situation, enemy strength. Tell them we need help now. Far across the stars, in a part of space where humans had quietly built something the galaxy did not know about, a warship received the message. Admiral Park read the distress call 3 times. Then she stood up from her desk and walked to the command center. Officers looked up as she entered. They knew that look. They had trained their whole lives for this moment. "Contact 3rd Fleet," Park said. "Full battle group. We are going to get our people." On the new horizon, Rodriguez did not know help was coming. She only knew that raiders were cutting through her ship, that her people were fighting and dying, that she had sent a message to a galaxy that did not care. She picked up a weapon. It was a simple thing, meant for defense, not war. But it was something. She walked toward the sounds of fighting. If they were going to take her ship, they would have to go through her first. Behind her, the bridge crew followed. None of them were fighters. All of them went anyway, because sometimes you fight not because you can win, but because the alternative is worse. The council chambers emptied slowly. Delegates walked in clusters, their conversations light and unconcerned. Ambassador Trell signed documents on his datapad, already moving on to the next issue. A trade dispute between 2 mining colonies, a request for expanded shipping lanes, the usual business of running a galaxy. Nobody mentioned the humans again. In his private office, Trell poured himself a drink. The liquid was blue and thick, imported from his homeworld at great expense. He had earned this comfort. 30 years of service, 30 years of making hard decisions. He took a long sip and pulled up the human file on his screen. Earth. 3rd planet from a yellow star. Water world mostly. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere with unusually high oxygen content. Gravity at 1 standard unit, which was already above average for inhabited worlds. Single large moon. Active tectonic plates. Extreme weather patterns including hurricanes, tornadoes, and seasonal variations. He scrolled through the biological data. Humans were endurance predators. They hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They had binocular vision for tracking, opposable thumbs for tool use, social pack behavior, high aggression levels, pain tolerance above average, but none of that mattered. They were still soft things without natural armor. They had no venom, no claws, no size advantage. They died easily enough when you shot them. Trell had seen the reports from the few skirmishes that had occurred. Humans bled red and stopped moving just like everything else. The file listed Earth as a Class 7 world, moderately dangerous. The kind of place you could visit with basic precautions. Nothing remarkable. Trell closed the file and finished his drink. Humans were a minor species. They would learn their place or they would die out. Either way, it was not his problem. On the new horizon, Commander Grell walked through the captured corridors with satisfaction. His raiders had taken the ship in less than 3 hours. Quick and efficient. The humans had fought harder than expected, true. More of them had died standing their ground instead of surrendering. But it did not matter. Dead or alive, they would still fetch good prices. He stopped to examine one of the barricades the humans had built. Welded metal plates, furniture, storage containers. Anything they could move they had used to block the corridors. Clever, desperate, pointless. His people had simply cut through or gone around. A raider lieutenant approached him. "Commander, we have secured all the main sections. 15,000 captives, mostly healthy. Good condition. We lost 8 ships in the fighting." Grell's satisfaction dimmed. 8 ships. That was more than he expected. How did they manage that? They had some kind of automated defense systems, missiles, point defense guns. Nothing military grade, but they used them well. And the crew fought like... The lieutenant paused, searching for words. Like they had nothing to lose. "Everyone has something to lose," Grell said. "That is why they surrender. Catalog the prisoners. We will sell them at the border markets. Scientists and skilled workers will bring premium prices." He walked away, already calculating profits. The colony ship itself would be worth a fortune once they scrubbed the identity codes. The supplies on board could feed his fleet for months, and 15,000 slaves would set him up for life. This had been a good day. Behind him, in a sealed medical bay, Officer Lee worked quietly. She had 13 wounded humans in her care. Some would live. Some would not. She did what she could with limited supplies. But while she worked, she listened. The raiders were careless. They talked openly around prisoners they assumed were defeated. She heard their troop numbers, their ship positions, their security codes. She memorized everything. In the holding cells, Davis sat with his remaining security team. 5 people out of 20. The others were dead or too wounded to move. He had a broken arm and burns across his chest. Every breath hurt, but his mind was clear. "We need to retake the ship," one of his team members whispered. "With what weapons?" another replied. "They took everything." Davis listened to them argue. Let them talk through the fear and anger. Then he spoke quietly. "We are not retaking the ship. Not now. We stay alive. We watch. We wait. And if help comes, we help them help us." "Nobody is coming," someone said. "We sent the distress call." Nobody answered. "Somebody always answers," Davis said. He did not know if he believed it. But he needed his people to believe it, so he said it with confidence. "We just have to survive until they do." 800 light-years from the captured colony ship, Admiral Parks studied the tactical display. 6 ships. Her flagship, the Indomitable, was a carrier. Heavy armor. Fighter bays. Enough firepower to level a small moon. The 5 destroyers that accompanied her were smaller but faster, designed for ship-to-ship combat. Against them, 36 raider vessels. Her executive officer stood beside her. "Long odds, Admiral, are they?" Park touched the display, zooming in on the raider formation. "Look at their positioning, scattered, no real formation. They are not expecting trouble. They think they are safe. They outnumber us 6-1. Numbers are not everything." Park had served in the military for 25 years. She had studied every major battle in human history and quite a few alien ones. She knew that victory went to the prepared, not the numerous. "Contact the fleet. We jump in 30 minutes. Battle configuration. I want fighters ready to launch the moment we drop out of hyperspace." The officer hesitated. "Admiral, the Council voted against intervention. If we engage, there could be political consequences." Park looked at him. Her expression was calm, but something in her eyes made the officer step back. "We received a distress call from 15,000 civilians. Our civilians. The Council can deal with the politics. We will deal with the pirates." She turned back to the display. 30 years ago, a human merchant ship had been attacked in deep space. Everyone aboard had died. The galaxy had done nothing. Humanity had learned a lesson that day. You could not trust others to protect you. You had to protect yourself. So they built ships. Not exploration vessels. Not cargo haulers, warships, real ones. Built to Earth standards, which meant built to survive anything. Redundant systems. Heavy armor. Weapons designed to punch through shields that were meant to stop energy weapons. The galaxy thought humans were weak, soft, unremarkable. They were about to learn otherwise. Park checked the countdown. 28 minutes. She walked to the weapons station and reviewed the firing solutions. Everything looked good. The crew was ready. They had trained for this. Some of them were veterans from the few border skirmishes humanity had fought. Others were new, but they had been taught by people who understood what war meant. They were Deathworlders. Born on a planet where everything tried to kill you, where storms could level cities, where predators hunted in the dark, where you learned to fight or you died. That heritage ran in their blood even if the galaxy did not see it yet. Soon they would. The countdown reached 0. Park sat in the command chair and gave the order. All ships initiate jump, space twisted. Reality bent. 6 human warships vanished from normal space and began the journey to save their own. Space tore open like a wound. 6 ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls still glowing from the transition. The Indomitable came first, massive and angular, built like a fortress that someone had taught to fly. Behind it, 5 destroyers spread out in attack position, their weapons already tracking targets. Commander Grell was drinking when the alarm started. The liquid spilled across his desk as he jumped to his feet. "Report!" "Unknown vessels, Commander. 6 contacts. Military configuration. They just appeared at the edge of sensor range." Grell pulled up the tactical display. 6 ships, 6 against his 36. He started to relax, then stopped. Those ships were big, heavily armored, and they were moving with purpose. "Identification?" "Human, sir. The flagship is broadcasting. They are demanding our surrender." Grell laughed. He could not help it. Humans. Stupid, soft humans who had been begging for help a few hours ago. Now they came with 6 ships and made demands. "Open a channel. Let me talk to whoever is in charge of this foolishness." The screen flickered. A woman appeared. She wore a dark uniform with silver insignia. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was calm. Her eyes were not. Grell had seen eyes like that before, on predators right before they struck. I am Admiral Park of the Human Defense Fleet. You are holding 15,000 civilians hostage. You have 60 seconds to release them and surrender your vessels. If you do not comply, I will destroy your fleet. Grell laughed again. This time his officers joined in. Admiral, you have 6 ships. I have 36. Your math is poor. 59 seconds, Park said. You are bluffing. You are trying to scare us into surrender because you know you cannot win. It will not work. Return to wherever you came from and we might let you leave alive. 50 seconds. Grell cut the channel. All ships battle formation. Let us teach these humans what happens when they threaten the Crimson Raiders. His fleet moved to intercept. 36 ships against 6. It should have been a slaughter. It was. The Indomitable fired first. Railguns. Magnetic accelerators that launched projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. Most galactic species used energy weapons, lasers, plasma. Things that shields were designed to stop. Humans used rocks, very fast rocks, with explosive cores. The first salvo hit a raider cruiser dead center. The shields flared, held for half a second, then collapsed. The projectiles punched through the hull. Internal explosions tore the ship apart from the inside. It broke into 3 pieces and went dark. 5 seconds had passed. The destroyers opened fire. Their weapons were smaller but faster, designed for precision. They targeted engines, weapons, command centers. Raiders tried to return fire, but their shots splashed harmlessly against armor that was built to survive Earth's atmosphere during re-entry. Human ships did not just have shields. They had thick metal plating underneath. Redundant systems. Compartmentalized sections. You could not kill them with a lucky shot. Grell watched his fleet die. Ship after ship went dark or exploded, or tried to run only to be chased down by destroyers that were somehow faster despite being heavily armored. It made no sense. How could they be strong and fast? You had to choose one or the other. That was how physics worked. Except humans apparently did not care about should and should not. They just built ships that did both and then flew them into combat like physics was a suggestion. All ships scatter, Grell ordered. Get to the colony ship. Use it as cover. They will not fire if they might hit the civilians. It was a good plan. It did not work. The Indomitable launched fighters. Small craft streaked out of the carrier bay like a swarm of angry insects. They moved in patterns that made Grell's eyes hurt to watch. Tight turns. Rapid acceleration. Maneuvers that should have killed the pilots from the G-forces alone. But human pilots trained at 3 Gs. They flew combat missions at 5. Their bodies could handle what would turn other species into paste. Evolution had made them persistence hunters. Now they hunted in space. The fighters picked off the scattered raiders with precision. Missiles, cannons, even ramming when they ran out of ammunition. One human pilot crashed his damaged fighter into a raider ship's bridge. Both exploded. The pilot never even tried to eject. Grell realized he was going to die. The thought came suddenly with perfect clarity. He had been raiding for 20 years. He had won every fight. He had grown comfortable, arrogant. He had underestimated prey that turned out to be predators. Commander, they are hailing us again. Grell accepted the channel. Admiral Park looked exactly the same as before. Not excited, not angry, just calm. Like this was a routine day for her. You now have 15 ships left. Surrender or die. You are insane, Grell said. You rammed one of my capital ships with your flagship. You sent fighters on suicide runs. What kind of species fights like this? The kind that evolved on a world where everything wanted to kill us. The kind that learned to fight back or go extinct. The kind that takes care of our own. Park leaned forward slightly. Last chance. Surrender now or we will erase you. Grell looked at his tactical display. 15 ships, against 6 that seemed impossible to kill. He had lost 21 vessels in less than 10 minutes. His crew was terrified. Half his remaining ships were trying to flee. We surrender, he said. Wise choice. Power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. If you resist, we will resume firing. The channel cut. Grell slumped in his chair. Around him, his bridge crew moved mechanically, following orders out of habit. They had all believed humans were weak, easy targets. Now they understood the truth. Humans were not weak. They were just new to the galaxy. There was a difference. On the new horizon, Davis heard the explosions, felt the ship shake from impacts nearby. The raiders guarding the prisoners ran to their positions, shouting in their language. Something was happening. Something big. Then the doors exploded inward. Armored figures poured through the breach. They moved like they had done this 1,000 times. Smooth, efficient, professional. They carried weapons that looked too big for normal humans to lift. But these were not normal humans. These were soldiers. One of them approached Davis. The armor was scorched and dented. Through the helmet visor, Davis could see a young face, maybe 25. "Are you Davis? Security chief?" "Yes, we are here to take you home. Can you walk?" Davis stood up. His broken arm hung at his side. His chest felt like it was on fire. "Yes, good, stay close. We are sweeping the ship deck by deck." The soldier handed him a weapon, just in case. They moved through the corridors. More soldiers appeared, escorting colonists to safe zones. Medical teams set up triage stations. Engineers worked on the ship's systems. It was organized chaos, and Davis felt something he had not felt since the attack began. Hope. In the medical bay, Officer Lee looked up as soldiers entered. She had a scalpel in her hand, ready to fight if she had to. Then she saw the human uniforms and nearly collapsed with relief. "We have wounded here. 13 critical cases. We have a medical frigate in orbit. We will get them transferred." The team leader looked at her. "You did good work keeping them alive. What is your name?" "Lee, Medical Officer Lee." "Well, Medical Officer Lee, how would you like to help us?" "We could use someone who knows the ship layout." Lee nodded. She was exhausted, terrified, covered in blood from a dozen different people. But someone needed her. That was enough. Admiral Park watched the rescue operation from the Indomitable. Her ships had taken minor damage. 2 fighters lost, 17 casualties, none fatal. Against 36 enemy vessels, that was beyond successful. That was decisive, but she did not celebrate. 15,000 civilians had been terrorized. Some had died. Many more would have nightmares for years. This was not a victory. This was just not losing. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to talk," Park smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Tell them I am busy." "They can wait." Just like they made our people wait. She turned back to the rescue operation. There would be politics later. Consequences, demands. The Council would be angry that humanity had acted without permission. They could stay angry. Park had learned a long time ago that it was better to ask forgiveness than permission, especially when lives were at stake. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's distress call. They had voted against helping. They had decided human lives did not matter. Now they would learn what happened when you abandoned Deathworlders, when you left them to fight alone, when you forgot that the softest target sometimes had the sharpest teeth. The galaxy was about to change, whether it wanted to or not. The video played on every screen in the council chambers. 6 human ships against 36 raiders. The battle lasted 12 minutes. By the time it ended, 21 raider vessels were destroyed and 15 had surrendered. The footage was raw, unedited, transmitted directly from the human flagship. Nobody laughed this time. Ambassador Trell watched his career die in real time. Around him, other delegates whispered and pointed. Some looked angry. Others looked frightened. All of them looked at him like he had done something unforgivable. He had been the one to dismiss the human distress call. He had been the one who made the joke about soft species from unremarkable worlds. Now the entire galaxy watched that joke turn into a nightmare. The lead counselor, an ancient being whose species had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years, spoke quietly. "Ambassador Trell, you will explain yourself." Trell stood. His legs felt weak. "I made a decision based on available information." The humans were a minor species. Their military capability was unknown. Sending aid would have required significant resources. So you let 15,000 civilians become hostages. You abandoned them to pirates. And when those same humans came to rescue their own people, they defeated a force 6 times their number in less than 15 minutes. Do you understand what this means? Trell understood perfectly. It meant humans were not what anyone thought they were. It meant the galaxy had made a terrible mistake. It meant he was standing in front of everyone who mattered, being made an example. "We need to review the human data immediately," another counselor said. "Everything we know about their homeworld, their biology, their history. We treated them like a minor species because we did not look closely enough." The screens changed. New information appeared. Earth's statistics. Gravity at 1 full standard unit, which was 30% higher than the galactic average. Oxygen content at 21%, which was dangerously high. Atmospheric pressure that would crush smaller species. Temperature variations that swung by 60 degrees between seasons. This is a Class 12 world, someone said. Maximum danger rating. How did we classify it as Class 7? Because nobody visited it, another replied. We took their word for it. They said it was comfortable. We assumed that meant safe. More data appeared. Earth's biodiversity. Apex predators that could run for hours without stopping. Pack hunters with complex social structures. Ambush predators with toxic venom. Ocean predators the size of vehicles. And humans who had survived all of it by being more adaptable, more persistent, and more violent than anything else on the planet. They are persistence hunters. Someone read from the file. They chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Average human can run for hours at moderate speed. Can survive in temperature ranges that would kill most species. High pain tolerance, pack behavior, tool use. They are built for survival. Ambassador Foster walked into the chambers. She had been waiting outside for 3 hours. Let them stew. Let them watch the battle footage. Let them realize exactly what humanity was before she came in to negotiate. It was basic tactics. Never negotiate from a position where the other side did not understand what they were dealing with. She was tall by galactic standards. Most species averaged about 5 feet in height. Foster was 6 feet 2 inches. Her shoulders were broad from years of military service. Her presence filled the room in a way that made smaller beings uncomfortable. She had learned to use that. Ambassador Foster, the lead counselor said, we regret the decision regarding your colonists. We should have responded to the distress call. Yes, you should have, Foster said. No diplomacy. No soft words. Just truth. You voted against helping us. 37 votes to 13. You laughed at us. You decided our people did not matter, so we took care of it ourselves. Your military response was extremely aggressive. You destroyed over 20 vessels. You rammed an enemy capital ship with your flagship. These are not the actions of a peaceful species. We are peaceful, Foster said, right up until someone attacks our civilians. Then we are extremely not peaceful. You should remember that. Silence filled the chambers. Foster let it stretch. Let them think about what she was saying. Let them realize that humanity was not asking for permission anymore. We need to discuss regulations, someone said. Military limitations, oversight. You cannot simply deploy warships without council approval. Why not? You did not deploy ships when we asked for help, so we deployed our own. If you want humans to follow council military regulations, perhaps the council should protect human civilians. Otherwise, we protect ourselves. More silence. Foster could see them doing the math. Humanity had shown it could build warships. Real ones, effective ones. If the council pushed too hard, humans might just leave and form their own defensive alliance. Other species might join them. The council's power came from unity. If that unity broke, everything broke. There are rumors, the lead counselor said carefully, that the Tribunal Collective hired the raiders to attack your colony ship, that this was not random piracy but a deliberate attack. Foster pulled out a data pad. Not rumors, facts. We interrogated the raider commander. He confirmed that Tribunal agents hired his fleet. They wanted to eliminate human expansion into contested space. They thought we would be easy targets. They were wrong. She tossed the data pad onto the central table. It slid across the smooth surface and stopped in front of the lead counselor. That contains full confessions, communications records, payment transfers, everything you need to prove what happened. The Tribunal Collective committed an act of war against humanity. We would like to know what the Council intends to do about it. The Tribunal ambassador stood up. He was a large being, crystalline in structure, reflecting light and patterns that most species found beautiful. Right now, he just looked defensive. These accusations are baseless. We would never. You paid 3 million credits to Commander Grell. We have the transaction records. Your agents met with him on 4 separate occasions. We have surveillance footage. You specifically requested that he target the New Horizon and make sure there were no survivors. We have the audio recordings. Foster turned to face him directly. You wanted us dead. You failed. Now you will pay for it. The chamber erupted. Voices rose in dozens of languages. The lead counselor called for order. It took several minutes for the chaos to settle. This is a serious accusation, the counselor finally said. If proven true, the consequences will be severe. But we must verify the evidence. We must investigate properly. Investigate all you want, Foster said. We will be conducting our own investigation into who else knew about this, who else voted against helping us, who else thought humanity was expendable. She looked around the room, made eye contact with as many delegates as she could. Some looked away. Others met her gaze with defiance. All of them understood the message. Humanity was done being underestimated. We came to the galaxy in peace, Foster continued. We followed your rules. We joined your councils. We traded with your merchants. We tried to be good neighbors. And the first time we needed help, you abandoned us. So here is what happens now. Humanity will continue to patrol our own space. We will protect our own colonies. We will respond to any threats with overwhelming force. If you have a problem with that, you can file a complaint. We will consider it carefully before we ignore it. You cannot simply declare independence from council authority. Someone protested. We are not declaring independence. We are declaring self-reliance. Big difference. We will still trade with you, still attend your meetings, still participate in galactic society, but we will not trust you to protect us. That job belongs to us now. Foster turned to leave. Then she stopped and looked back. One more thing. We have been monitoring galactic distress calls. There are 17 active emergencies right now. Pirate attacks, natural disasters, station malfunctions. All of them sent requests for help. How many has the council responded to? Nobody answered. That is what I thought. You are very good at talking, not so good at doing. Humanity will start responding to these calls. If we have ships available, we will help. Because that is what you do when someone asks for help. You help them. You do not debate it. You do not vote on it. You just go. She walked out. Behind her, the council chambers exploded into argument. Some species wanted to sanction humanity. Others wanted to form alliances. A few wanted to declare war, though nobody said that part out loud. The tribunal collective representatives left quickly, knowing they would face investigation and probably worse. The galaxy was changing. The comfortable old order where everyone talked and nobody acted was dying. Humanity had shown there was another way. A faster way. A more direct way. Other species would remember that. Some would follow that example. The council would never be the same. Ambassador Trell sat alone after the session ended. His career was over. He would resign tomorrow, return to his homeworld in disgrace. But that was not what bothered him. What bothered him was the look in Foster's eyes. Not anger, not hatred, just cold calculation, like she was solving a problem, like he was a problem, like the entire council was a problem that humanity had decided to solve. He had laughed at their distress call. Now he wondered if he would ever laugh about anything again. The emergency broadcast came through at 400 hours. Colonial Station Haven's Rest was under attack. Population 47,000. Mixed species. Mining operation. 36 ships surrounding them. Demands for surrender. The same pattern as before. Pirates preying on the defenseless. This time the Galactic Council acted immediately. Emergency session. Unanimous vote. Authorization for military intervention, and a formal request sent directly to humanity. Ambassador Trell was not there to see it. He had resigned. His replacement, a younger diplomat named Ven, handled the transmission with careful formality. Ambassador Foster, the Council requests human military assistance at Haven's Rest. We understand if you decline given recent events, but we formally acknowledge that our forces cannot respond in time. Foster read the message twice. Part of her wanted to refuse. Let them handle it themselves. Let them understand what it felt like to be abandoned. But she thought about 47,000 people waiting for help, wondering if anyone would come. She knew exactly how that felt. We will respond, she said, but under human command. Your forces can support, but operational decisions are ours. Ven did not hesitate. Agreed. Thank you, Ambassador. Foster contacted Admiral Park directly. Haven's Rest needs help. How fast can you get there? We never left the sector. Figured there might be more trouble. We can be there in 6 hours. The raiders might know about us now. They could be prepared. Park's expression did not change. Let them prepare. It will not help. The Third Fleet dropped out of hyperspace precisely 6 hours later. Haven's Rest hung in space before them. a rotating cylinder providing artificial gravity to thousands of residents. Ships surrounded it. These were not the same raiders as before. Different colors, different designs, but the same predatory behavior. Admiral Park opened communications. This is the human defense fleet. You are attacking a civilian station. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately. The response came quickly. A reptilian face filled the screen. Scarred, confident. I am War Leader Shorn of the Ravager Horde. We have heard of you humans. We have prepared for you. Your tricks will not work twice. They are not tricks, Park said. Last chance. Withdraw or be destroyed. You destroyed the Crimson Raiders because they were weak and unprepared. We are neither. Come and die. The channel cut. Park looked at her tactical officer. Well, we tried diplomacy. This battle went differently from the start. The Ravagers had studied the previous engagement. They had adapted their tactics. Their ships moved in coordinated groups with overlapping fields of fire. They positioned themselves to use the station as cover. They launched fighters to match the human ones. They had learned. It was not enough. Human destroyers split up, forcing the Ravagers to divide their attention. Each destroyer had more firepower than the Raiders expected. More armor, more speed. The Ravagers had prepared for what humans had shown before. They had not prepared for what humans had held in reserve. The Indomitable launched not just fighters but bombers, heavily armored craft carrying missiles that could crack station shields. They dove through enemy fire, taking hits that should have destroyed them and delivered their payloads with precision. 3 Raider capital ships went dark in the first salvo. On the station, corporate manager Quinn watched through the observation windows. She was human, managing a mixed-species mining operation. When the attack started, she had immediately sent her people to shelters. Now she watched human warships tear through the Raider fleet and felt pride mixed with terror. That was her species out there. Those were her people. And they were winning, but not without cost. 2 human fighters went down. A destroyer took heavy damage to its engines. Medical frigate reported incoming wounded. This fight was harder, more dangerous. The Raiders had learned from last time. They were making humanity pay for every ship destroyed. War Leader, we are losing ships, someone shouted on the Ravager command channel. Shorn watched his tactical display with growing frustration. He had prepared. He had studied. He had done everything right. But humans just kept coming. Their fighters were faster than they should be. Their ships were tougher than they had any right to be. And their tactics were relentless. They never hesitated, never second-guessed. Just executed their plans with machine precision. Ground teams deploy to the station. Take hostages. They will not fire if we have civilians. It was the same tactic the Crimson Raiders had tried. It did not work any better this time. Corporal Harris led her squad through the station corridors. They had breached the hull using assault pods. Now they moved deck by deck, clearing raiders and evacuating civilians. It was brutal work. Close quarters. No room for mistakes. A raider appeared around a corner. Harris fired. The alien dropped. She kept moving. Behind her, her squad followed in practiced formation. They had done this in training 1,000 times. In simulation, another 1,000. Now it was real. They found a group of civilians barricaded in a storage room. Mixed species. Humans, yes, but also beings from a dozen different worlds. All of them looked terrified. Harris knocked on the door. Human military. We are here to help. Open up. The door cracked open. A small alien looked up at her. Barely 4 feet tall. Covered in fur. Large eyes, a child. Are you really here to help everyone? Or just the humans? Harris knelt down to be at eye level. Everyone. That is what we do. The child's name was Pim. He was 7 years old. His parents worked in the mining section. He had been in school when the attack happened. His teacher had gotten everyone to safety but then died holding the door against raiders. Pim told this story in a quiet voice while Harris's medic checked him for injuries. Why do you help us? Pim asked. We are not your species. Harris thought about how to answer that. She was a soldier. She had trained to fight, to kill if necessary, but she had also trained to protect. Because you needed help. Because you asked for it. That is enough. She handed Pim off to the evacuation team and moved on. More corridors. More raiders. More civilians to save. Her armor was scorched. Her rifle was almost empty. She had taken a hit that cracked 2 ribs, but she kept moving because people needed her. By the time the fighting ended, Harris's squad had evacuated 4,000 civilians. Other squads had done the same throughout the station. The Ravager horde was defeated. 18 ships destroyed, 15 captured. War leader Shorn was dead, killed when his command ship exploded. But the victory felt different this time. 12 human soldiers had died. 37 were wounded. 2 civilian ships that had been docked at the station were destroyed in the crossfire. The raiders had learned. They had adapted. Next time they would learn more. Adapt better. Admiral Park stood in the station's command center after the battle. Manager Quinn approached her with careful respect. "Thank you, Admiral. You saved us. We did our job. Are your people secure?" "Yes, thanks to your soldiers. They risked their lives for us." "Not just for humans, for everyone." Quinn paused. "The Council never would have done that. They would have negotiated, debated, voted. By the time they acted, we would all be dead or gone." Park did not disagree. The Council has its place. But sometimes you need someone who will just act. Later, in the medical bay, Park visited the wounded. She moved from bed to bed, talking to each soldier, thanking them, listening to their stories. It was not required, not part of her duties, but she did it anyway because leaders took care of their people. She stopped at Harris's bed. "How are the ribs, Corporal?" "Better than the alternative, Admiral. I read your report. You saved a lot of people today." Harris shrugged, then winced at the pain. "Just doing my job. It was more than that. You showed those civilians what humanity stands for, that we do not just protect our own, we protect anyone who needs it. Is that what we stand for?" Park considered the question. "It is what we are becoming. The galaxy thought we were weak. Now they know better. But I do not want them to just fear us. I want them to trust us, to know that when they call for help, we come. Not because we have to, because it is right." She moved on to the next bed. Behind her, Harris closed her eyes and tried to rest. Her ribs hurt. Her head hurt. Everything hurt. But she felt good. They had saved people today. That mattered. That was worth the pain. News of the battle at Haven's Rest spread across the galaxy faster than the first engagement. This time people paid attention. 47,000 civilians saved. Minimal casualties among the defended population. Human military forces suffered losses but completed their mission anyway. It was a different narrative than the first battle. Less about overwhelming force. More about sacrifice. About risking your own people to save others. Within a week, 12 different colonies sent formal requests to the human government. They wanted protection, military partnerships, defense agreements. Humanity could not save everyone. Did not have enough ships, but they could do something. And something was better than nothing. The Galactic Council watched all this with growing concern. Humanity was building an alliance, not through force or intimidation, through action, through proving they would help when help was needed. It was a different kind of power, harder to fight, harder to control. 3 months had changed everything. The colony ship New Horizon had reached its destination. 15,000 people stepped onto soil that had never felt human feet before. They named their new world Defiance, not because they wanted to fight, because they had survived when the galaxy said they did not matter. That was worth remembering. Rodriguez retired from space travel. She took a position as mayor of the first settlement, led town meetings, helped people build homes, tried not to think about the days when raiders controlled her ship and people died in the corridors. The nightmares came anyway. They always did. But she kept moving forward because that was what you did. You survived. You rebuilt. You lived. In the council chambers, the mood was tense. The Tribunal Collective had been formally censured. 3 of their key ambassadors were removed from office. Economic sanctions were imposed. It was the strongest action the council had taken in 50 years. And it still did not feel like enough to the species that had watched humans die while the council debated. The tribunal's replacement ambassador, a smaller being named Court, spoke carefully. "We acknowledge our previous leadership made grave errors. We seek to repair relations with humanity and all affected parties." Ambassador Foster listened without expression. Words were cheap. Actions mattered. Humanity accepts your apology. But trust must be earned. That will take time. We understand. We hope to prove ourselves worthy. The real business came next. The Protected Worlds Alliance. 13 colonies had formally joined. They contributed resources, patrol ships, intelligence networks. In exchange, humanity provided military protection and strategic coordination. It was not an empire, not a conquest, just an agreement between people who had learned that the Council's protection was not always reliable. Ambassador Venn presented the Council's concern with diplomatic precision. This alliance operates outside Council authority. It sets a dangerous precedent. If every species forms its own defensive pacts, the Council's unity will fracture. Foster had prepared for this argument. The Council's unity already fractured. When you voted against helping the New Horizon, you broke the promise that civilized species protect each other. We are simply ensuring it does not happen again. But who decides when military force is appropriate? What prevents this alliance from becoming aggressive? The same thing that prevents the Council from becoming corrupt. Transparency, accountability, democratic oversight. Every world in the alliance gets a vote. Humanity cannot act unilaterally. We are partners, not rulers. It was partially true. Humanity had the most ships, the most military experience, the most influence. But Foster had insisted on building something that could outlast human dominance. Eventually, other species would build their own fleets, develop their own tactics. When that happened, the alliance needed to be strong enough to remain cooperative rather than competitive. The vote came after 6 hours of debate. The Council officially recognized the Protected Worlds Alliance as a legitimate defensive organization. 28 votes in favor, 15 against, 7 abstentions. It was not overwhelming support, but it was enough. Foster walked out of the chambers and allowed herself a small smile. They had won, not through force, through persistence, through proving that humanity could be trusted to help others. That was the real victory. On Earth, Admiral Park reviewed deployment schedules. Third Fleet was stretched thin, 6 ships protecting 13 worlds. More colonies were requesting membership. Pirates were avoiding human-protected space, which just meant they were hitting unprotected targets harder. The galaxy was not becoming safer. It was just redistributing danger. She needed more ships, more crew, more resources. The government was building as fast as possible. New destroyers were coming off the construction yards every month. But it took time to train crews, time to shake down new vessels, time to build the logistics networks that kept fleets operational. Her door opened. Captain Rodriguez walked in. She wore civilian clothes now, but she still moved like a ship's captain. "Admiral, you wanted to see me? I have a proposal. We need experienced officers for the new ships. You have the knowledge, the instincts, the respect of people who served under you." Rodriguez shook her head. "I am done with space. I have a colony to build. I understand. But consider this. Right now, dozens of ships travel the same routes your colony ship took, full of civilians, families, people trying to build new lives. If even one of them faces what you faced, they will need someone who knows how to handle it, someone who has been there. You are asking me to train captains. I am asking you to make sure no other captain has to watch their people die, while waiting for help that does not come." Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. "How long?" 2 years. Train them. Share what you learned. Then go back to your colony. By then we will have enough experienced officers to keep going without you." 2 years, Rodriguez repeated. She thought about the faces of the people who had died on her ship. Thought about other ships, other captains, other crews who might face the same thing. "All right, 2 years. But I want to promise that we never become what the Council is, that we never debate while people die. You have my word." They shook hands. It was a simple gesture, but it meant something. It meant humanity was building not just a fleet, but a culture, one that valued action over debate, protection over politics, results over rhetoric. Far across the galaxy, young Pym attended school on Haven's Rest. He was 8 now, taller, braver, but he still remembered the day raiders attacked. Still remembered hiding in that storage room. Still remembered Corporal Harris kneeling down to his eye level and promising help. His teacher, a human woman named Morrison, taught about galactic history. About the Council. About the different species and their worlds. Today's lesson was about Earth. Earth is a Class 12 world, Morrison explained. That means it is extremely dangerous. High gravity, aggressive weather, predatory wildlife. Most species cannot survive there without protective equipment, but humans evolved there. They adapted to all those dangers. That adaptation made them strong. A student raised their hand. Are humans dangerous? Morrison considered the question. Humans can be dangerous, but dangerous is not the same as bad. A fire is dangerous, but it also keeps you warm. Humans are like that. They can hurt you, but they can also protect you. The choice of which one they do belongs to them. What do they choose? Most of the time, they choose to help. When my brother was trapped in a collapsed mine, human rescue teams dug him out. When pirates attacked this station, human soldiers saved us. They did not have to. They chose to. That is what matters, not what you can do. What you choose to do. Pym thought about that. He wanted to be like Corporal Harris when he grew up. Strong, brave, someone who helped people. It did not matter that he was not human. The lesson was universal. You chose who you wanted to be. Every day, every moment, that was the real power. In the council archives, historians studied the past 3 months with academic interest. They wrote papers about the shift in galactic power dynamics, about how humanity had leveraged military success into political influence, about the formation of the Protected Worlds Alliance and what it meant for the future. But they missed the real story. The real story was not about power or politics or military tactics. It was about a distress call that was ignored, about people who were told they did not matter, about a species that decided if the galaxy would not help, they would help themselves. And in helping themselves, they helped others too. That was the real change. Not that humanity had ships or weapons or influence. That humanity had shown there was another way. A faster way. A way that said you did not debate about saving lives. You just saved them. Other species were starting to understand that. Starting to adopt that philosophy. Starting to build their own fleets and their own alliances. The galaxy was fracturing. The Council's authority was weakening. Humanity had not meant to cause that. They had just wanted to protect their people. But consequences did not care about intentions. The old order was dying. Something new was being born. Whether that was good or bad, nobody knew yet. Ambassador Foster stood in her office looking at Earth through the window. She had spent 6 months in space, negotiating, fighting, building something that might last or might collapse the moment humans were not there to hold it together. She was tired, but she could not rest yet. Her assistant brought a message. Ambassador, we have received 73 new requests for Alliance membership. Also, the Council wants to discuss creating a joint Human Council military initiative. Also, the Tribunal Collective is requesting a formal meeting to discuss reparations. Foster read through the messages. So much work, so many decisions, so many people depending on her to get it right. She thought about the 15,000 people on the New Horizon, about the 47,000 on Haven's Rest, about all the others who had been saved or would be saved because humanity refused to let them die alone. Schedule the meetings, prioritize the Alliance request, and get me Admiral Park. We need to coordinate on the military initiative. Yes, Ambassador. Foster turned back to the window. Earth hung there blue and white and beautiful. A death world, a cradle of predators, a place where everything tried to kill you and humanity survived anyway. That was the human advantage. Not strength or speed or weapons, adaptability, persistence, the refusal to give up. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's distress call. They had learned not to laugh anymore. Now they were learning something else. That the species from the death world could be dangerous, yes. But they could also be allies, protectors, friends. The choice belonged to humanity. Every day, every moment. And so far humanity was choosing wisely. On Defiance, Rodriguez watched the sunset. The star was different from Earth's sun. Orange instead of yellow, but it was still beautiful, still brought light and warmth, still marked the end of another day survived. Tomorrow she would return to Earth, begin training the next generation of captains, teach them what she had learned. Make sure they were ready for the worst, hope they never needed it. That was the job now. Passing on knowledge, building something that would last. She thought about the raiders who had taken her ship, about the council that had abandoned her, about the fleet that had saved her. So much had changed. So much was still changing, but some things stayed the same. You protected your people. You helped those who needed help. You survived and you made sure others could survive too. That was the human way. Not because they were strong, because they refused to be weak. Not because they were fearless, because they were afraid and fought anyway, not because they were perfect, because they tried to be better than they were yesterday. The galaxy was learning that lesson, slowly, painfully, but learning it, and maybe, just maybe, that would make everything worth it. All the fighting, all the death, all the fear, if it taught the galaxy that civilization was not about power or politics. It was about people, and people were worth saving. All of them. Every single one. No matter what species, no matter what world, no matter what. That was the message. That was the legacy. That was what humanity would be remembered for. Long after the ships rusted and the battles were forgotten, they had been laughed at when they asked for help. They had been dismissed as weak and irrelevant. They had proven everyone wrong, and then they had helped anyway. Because that was what Deathworlders did. They survived, and they made sure others survived too. That was strength. That was power. That was what really mattered. Everything else was just noise.